Scanning the QR code.
Atrocities similar to the Christchurch mosque shootings in New Zealand, which killed more than 50 people. Wes Streeting told The Guardian, "There are people in my community who have either Pakistani heritage or look different who are more fearful today than they were before." Are those legitimate concerns or mere whitewashing of the issue? I'm joined now by child abuse solicitor David Greenwood, who has worked on a team representing more than 100 survivors in Rotherham. David, welcome to the show. Listen, Wes has been pretty forthcoming with his statement in The Guardian. He's reiterated it on X. Is rhetoric too inflammatory right now? Are we, offending Pakistani communities? Are we tarring them all with the same brush?
Well, I think this Wes Streeting is blowing the whole thing out of proportion. To compare the situation with potentially causing a massacre like we saw in New Zealand is way out of proportion. The last I knew of the law, we had freedom of speech in this country. We can exercise it how we like. So long as we don't break the law. There are laws against inflaming racial hatred, and I'm sure that the police will clamp down on people in the same way that they did with the woman who made some awful comments about the Stockport issue, and will arrest people and lock them up if they break the law. I think he's gone way over the top with this. Yeah, it's fair to say that that the grooming gangs issue has been an issue for a long time, and it hasn't been really grasped properly yet. But to say that most reasonable people in this country are tarring whole communities with the same brush is a distortion of the truth. Most reasonable people in this country recognise that it's a small group of criminals that are committing these acts, and to do anything other than call them criminals is just not right at the moment. We simply don't have the data to say who's doing it. There are Eastern Europeans doing it. There are white people doing it.
Yeah, it's a pretty broad brush when it comes to offences in this country, and I was saying that in my monologue. How do you, look, you've worked with hundreds of victims over your time on this sort of topic. How do you think they would receive Wes Streeting's comments in The Guardian?
Well, the women that I've worked with and spoken to, as you can imagine, have fairly strong views about this. They want it to stop. They want to protect future generations, and so everything that can be thrown at it, I think most of them would want that. But we have to recognise that they, unfortunately, have been subjected to this awful crime, and will have a way of looking at it. We have to deal with it through the prism of law enforcement, and unless we're reasonable with our law enforcement, the whole thing is going to get out of control. We are going to have something like some kind of terrorist activity on our shores. We don't want that, so we need to recognise that most people in the country view this as simply a crime. The police need to step up. To be fair to the police, they have been doing some really excellent work in tracking down these grooming gangs, certainly in the north of England where I live, and have done a good job. We need to do more. We need to gather more data, and we need to break the gangs up before they even start.
There's been widespread critique of Robert Jenrick, who's also used language, saying that there are certain people coming to the country that have alien cultures. Do you think that's what Wes is talking about? Do you think that politicians are the ones sort of spreading this, what they would call inflammatory language? Or do you think that Robert Jenrick is saying it plainly?
No, definitely. The comments were made by Robert Jenrick don't help the situation. The girls that I've spoken to, the women that I speak to, don't want to have this issue kicked around like political football. This is serious. These are serious crimes that are happening on our streets. We don't want to have it, used for political gain. This is a law enforcement issue, not a political issue.
David, look, I want to thank you very much for your time tonight. This is a very important topic, so thank you for coming on to talk to me today. Coming up, my panel joins me shortly.